I'd like to call to order the District of Chetwynd regular council meeting. Can I get the opening statement read, please?
As we gather today on the traditional territory of the Treaty 8 Nations to conduct the business of the District of Chetwynd, we do so knowing that we are privileged to serve the citizens of this community, and we shall endeavor to conduct our business in their best interests. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Prior to adoption of the agenda, is there any new business from council? Not seeing any. Minutes of the meeting, on the regular council meeting held on October 6, 2025.
Motion to receive.
Okay. Any errors or omissions? Staff? Councilors? Okay. Vote on the motion. All in favor? Carried. Prior to 4, we've got an introduction. Steve?
Thank you, Your Worship. You'll see a new face at the table. This is Stacy Waitman. She's our new Director Engineering and Public Works. She's local and she's very, very experienced, and we're just tickled to have her on board with us.
Welcome.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for accepting our position there. That's awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. Okay, prior to delegations, we've got a very important item to take care of today, and that item is a 25-year volunteer fireman. So I'm going to ask Brent to come up, and I've got Brent Weisgerber. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a picture right over here. And all the volunteer people that do volunteer, especially in the fire department, we're very pleased, very honored that people step forward to do the job. When they're running into the fire, we're moving away from it. So these are very important, and volunteer. I mean, it's such a great honor, I guess, to do something like that for us, for the community, and you selfishly do it. Thank you very much, Brent. Thank you. You got a 25-year pin, Brent?
Thank you.
Stuff is coming up. There you go.
Yes, it's very, very gratifying to been able to provide 25 years of service to the community and all the persons that are in it and travel through. Thank you very much.
Once again for your service. The gratification that we hold for our volunteer fire department is quite exceptional, because we, as citizens of Chetwynd, really appreciate the volunteers. Being at the highest level of volunteers in the fire department, and then any other volunteer below that, or even as peers. Volunteers are very special to our community, especially small communities like ours, and I guess larger ones too. But the volunteer is very special to us here in Chetwynd. I'd like to thank Brent for doing his job, and for all the other volunteers that do their job in our fire department. It's quite an honor to have these people in our midst, and I'd like to thank you very much, Brent, for doing what you do. Okay, carrying on with what we got. We've got, I guess, one of our delegations has postponed to another date. So we will move on to our second delegation. That would be Rebecca Borton, Northern Health. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes? There we go. Much better. Thank you for inviting us to speak today. We were here in March and gave a more thorough update on some data that we're tracking and forecasting where we're going. So I thought today I'd follow up with a little bit of data, but not as detailed as we give in our annual report, and that'll leave us time for some dialogue and questions if you have any. So with me today, I have Dr. Bron Finkelstein. He's our Chief of Staff at the Chetwynd Hospital. And then I also have Dr. Rafael Banis with us as well, and he can help us speak to some of the attachment questions that might come up as well, because attachment is a community perspective, not just a Northern Health. And my name, for those who I haven't met yet, Rebecca Borton, Health Services Administrator, supporting the communities of Chetwynd, Tumbler Ridge, and Hudson's Hope. So where are we right now with our staffing update? We forecasted that we would continue to hire into our vacant lines, and we have done so over the last few months. Right now, my only vacancies in the Chetwynd community are 3 RN lines associated with the Chetwynd Hospital, and I am forecasting that one of those will be filled hopefully within the next 2 weeks. So we should see that drop down to 2 vacant lines. So very excited about that work, and I give credit not only to my Northern Health team for that, but also our partners, our physicians that we work with, and our team leads, who work very, very hard to bring people into our community and provide them with an environment that makes them want to stay. So I'll also acknowledge that our community partners play a big role in that as well, because Chetwynd, in my personal opinion, is a great community to live and work, and so thank you to everyone here at the table.
Do you think we could get this audio kind of corrected, because it's hard to hear?
Is it hard to
hear? There's a bit of
hear?
feedback happening.
Maybe it's the volume.
I'll have to use my big voice further back. Is that better, Julia?
You sound great. There's just this feedback occurring,
Okay.
and it's kind of...
I'll give it a minute. How's that now?
That's better.
Better? Okay. Along with the RN lines that are filled, we're seeing fill of all of our LPN lines, care aides, with ongoing casual support in all of our areas, including diagnostics. Also, our primary care physicians are all filled, the primary care clinic. So very, very proud of all of that work. We continue to track our use of agency staff. So you'll notice that January 2024 was a bit of a benchmark. We peaked at 3,699 hours. September of 2025, we're sitting at 130 hours. So that's a significant reduction. That's a 96% reduction in the use of agency staff for the Chetwynd General Hospital. So that's a metric that we follow very, very closely. We know that when we can fill our positions with people who live and want to serve locally, that's a better model than bringing rotational folks in. We are still supplied by our Go Health team, which are Northern Health employees. A number of them come to us regularly and choose to come back to our facility for a number of reasons, and our partners and our staff and our community are all part of that. Looking at our service interruptions, we've spoken about this before. There's 3 typical reasons that we'll see a service interruption: physician service, RN unavailability, or ED capacity. And I'll jump over to our current pie graph. And so you'll see that for 2025, the most popular reason for a service interruption is related to physician coverage, seconded closely by RN support. And then after that would be our capacity concerns, where we may have an influx of a number of patients or be dealing with a very critical situation that's requiring all of our resources in that moment. I do have some additional data around stats. So we've been tracking 22, 23, 24. I can give you up to date in 2025 up till the end of September. So for 2025, we're sitting at 22 service interruptions. That's compared to 2024 at 65 and 23 at 104. So if we do the percentages around that, from 2024 till now, we've seen a 72% reduction in service interruptions. So again, another metric that we watch very, very closely. And I would attribute this to an amazing team, physicians included in that go above and beyond to flex their schedules, work hard to fill any gaps that are coming up. While we've seen our RN lines come up, it doesn't necessarily mean that every RN that's on our team has the ability to support the ED. A number are still working through their educational pathways to be able to do that. So we have that work ongoing in the background. I'm going to jump over to access and attachment, because I believe that was one of the questions that came to me ahead of this meeting. So looking at the data, where do we sit right now? And this is for the Chetwynd Primary Care Clinic. I think it's really important to note that when we talk about primary care, we're very fortunate in the Chetwynd community that we have a couple of different buckets or doors of entry that we could access these services at. So the Chetwynd Primary Care Clinic is one clinic in our community. We're fortunate to have two other ones, and Dr. Banis is here with us. Sarah Howes had offered to attend as well. Unfortunately, she's out of community right now. But I'll just acknowledge that we have some very collaborative conversations around all of these things in the background. So if we look at the data, how many people are attached at the Chetwynd Primary Care Clinic? 1,941. Right now, our waitlist is showing 606 on the waitlist. And I'll note that that's a bit of a overinflated or a current moment in time. Let's call it a snapshot in time. Prior to June of this year, there was about 150 on the wait list. So as we are all interconnected parties, when we see changes within one of our partners, that can influence the number of folks that are sitting on our wait list as well. So we saw a rapid influx of people requesting to come onto the Chetwynd Primary Care wait list in June and July. And we are systematically working through that. As we go through that list, we're finding that a number of folks are already finding providers elsewhere as well. So I would say right now that number is a bit overrepresented. Did you want to speak at all to some of the attachment and maybe what we're doing around intakes?
Yeah, sure. Hey everybody, Braun Finkelstein, working with Becky in the administrative side of our local health affairs. So one of our biggest limitations to primary care access is emergency department access. You could see the ER numbers coming down for service interruptions. They're not zero yet. Some of that has to do with capacity building. We need redundancy, especially in rural context. When it's a small group of people, an impact or a sick call, one person losing their shift means 24 hours of service loss unless somebody's able to pick that up in the short term. We do have 6 doctors at the primary care clinic on 5.5 FTE right now, 5.3 technically. And then we have Dr. Banis in community, and we have Dr. Swanson at the Northern Nations Wellness Center. So 8 total physicians. One of our issues actually has been stemming from the Ministry of Health not responding to a pretty urgent request of ours that went in several months ago to help integrate care between the First Nations Health Authority held contracts, which is what Dr. Swanson is working under, and the Northern Health contracts. We made it quite clear to the Ministry of Health that we need to be able to work together because we're a small rural community. We can't work in isolation. We're not like a big city where somebody can just, have a clinic completely independent of another person. What impacts one physician or clinic in this community impacts another physician or clinic, and thereby all of the patients that are attached to it. So what we need from the Ministry of Health is for them to allow the First Nations Health Authority contract to participate in facility-based coverage. Dr. Swanson has expressed support and interest in joining hospital-based activities. What that will exactly look like, we don't know, because the ministry has actually canceled a meeting that we had with them. We had one back in August to address this issue on an urgent basis, and they canceled it unilaterally and have not responded to follow-up requests to reschedule that meeting. So, from an integration perspective, we are limited in being able to, approach this from just our health authority perspective. Rebecca, represents Northern Health. I am holding a Northern Health contract through my clinical practice, but also through Chief of Staff at the Chetwynd Hospital. That's a Northern Health facility, so I have zero influence over First Nation Health Authority or the Ministry of Health, right? I can only influence, what falls under our purview at the hospital or at the clinic. So, whatever avenues mayor and council have to reach out to the ministry and kind of bring this to their attention as a priority issue, I can say that several of our service interruptions could have been mitigated if we had an ability to have Dr. Swanson take on those shifts, but without the ministry's guidance, that's a barrier. And so the ministry's lack of responsiveness is actually directly contributing to service interruptions in our community. So that's a tangible step that can be taken if we can basically get approval from Ministry of Health to allow us to count hours in the emergency department or inpatient care towards an FNHA contract. And assign those as full scope duties under that contract, then we have another person contributing to ER services. One ER shift means 2 clinic days if it's a weekday shift, because it's a 24-hour on-call shift with a day off afterwards for the physician. So if we have, for example, when Dr. Banis covers a Friday or a Thursday, we have an ER shift that he's doing, and we have the post-call day if it's a weekday, not a Friday, I guess. But 1 to 2 days of then clinic. And as you can see from the attachment numbers, if we're taking in 3-4 new patients per clinic day, that means every week that we have an additional ER coverage, we have theoretically 4 to 8 additional patients attached to our clinic because of 1 additional ER coverage. So it's a very, tightly interwoven effect between acute care services, ER, inpatients, and then also our primary care access. I'd say we're doing well. We're headed in the right direction. We have capacity at the clinic to attach, if the 600 wait list is a true number, which both Becky and I think it's probably a slight overestimation. But even if it were a true number, we have capacity to attach all of those patients at the primary care clinic as it currently stands, and more. So everybody who's wanting a family doctor right now will get one in this community. It's only a matter of how long it takes based on the number of appointments there are kind of per day, right? Because you can only see so many new people in a given day while still ensuring access to your panel, which are the patients that are already attached to a physician. So basically, in summary, we are working actively to improve our attachment numbers. We are kind of expediting attachment for as many groups as we can through the primary care clinic. We are looking for support, particularly when it comes to the Ministry of Health, responding to our ask to allow First Nations Health Authority and Northern Health Authority to work together towards this common community goal. I think that summarizes what I want to say. If there's anything else you want to say, otherwise we can kind of open to questions.
I'm good. Happy to take questions.
Okay. Councilor. Councilor.
Thank you. So I would say we most certainly can write a letter of support on your behalf to the Ministry of Health. And would that letter also necessarily have to go to the First Nations Health Authority?
It absolutely could. We have been working to kind of find a solution that works for all parties. And the main thing we need is for the Ministry of Health to give us the options for the First Nations Health Authority and Dr. Swanson to be able to work in the way that they want to and are able to work. But really what we need is that meeting with the ministry that was canceled in August. Yeah.
Okay, and so as this new clinic where Dr. Swanson works, do they also support that, and have they written letters of support?
Yes, there have been meetings between us, and at our local physician group meetings, Dr. Swanson has expressed her support for participating or being able to participate in acute care services. The exact numbers, we haven't worked out, and I won't speak for her on what the correct number of shifts will be, but to have a barrier in place where we can't even do it if we want to is currently where we're at with the ministry's kind of lack of guidance.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the health clinic here?
Which clinic? Northern Nations or?
Yes, that would like to speak to that? I'm inviting one of you to speak on that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So,
Yeah.
Councillor Wark is right. We do have, I guess, an open dialogue with our minister, so that bodes well for Chetwynd, because she did show up, Minister Osborne, she showed up, talked to us, and said if there was things that we need. And she told us that when we were sitting with her.
Yeah.
So we will be sending the letter, and I think one of the things that we do here is making sure that we are in the correct space. So we will contact you and Becky to formulate the letter, and we will go through our CAO.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And again, we're not asking for anything prescriptive. We're really just asking for the dialogue right now, which is, you know, to have the meeting that should have happened months ago. Yeah.
Councillor Nelson?
I'm just curious about what happened with the ministry and how they responded to you, and what dialogue there has been.
So my understanding is, so we had a meeting set, I believe it was for August 24th or 27th. I'm not certain on the exact date, but it was in the later part of August. That meeting was canceled by the ministry. We weren't given a specific reason, and we weren't given a follow-up time. The questions that we need answered are twofold. One is the definition of a full service contract in family practice. These are definitions by the Physician Master Agreement. They're kind of negotiated by Doctors of BC and the Ministry of Health. So we need clarification on that, and at least from some of the discussion we've been having, to have the opportunity for physicians from FNHA contracts to be able to participate in acute care facility activities like ER coverage, like inpatient care, and use those towards their contract hours if that's appropriate for their context. And we're not saying that it has to be done, but we want the option to be there, because, you know, there's going to be different physicians holding these contracts at different times. And in a small community with physicians providing care for kind of the same pool of patients, we want to have as many options on the table as possible, and not have these kind of barriers in place where one health authority can't work with another health authority because of a technicality.
Any other questions? Comment just on the minister. Prior to her sitting in the seat, I talked with, we were at a conference in Vancouver, and I talked with Minister Dix at the time. He was the health minister, and I did ask him about a plan, and I give the same question to the current Minister of Health about a plan, and they seem to refer to all these different aspects of what goes into it, rather than giving me a basic plan of how we are going to achieve ERs not closing, you know, for this. So there wasn't a basic plan, and both of them come up with the same thing, that they did not really have this plan. They had these other things in place. This is what we're doing, this is what, and I just wanted to tell them, says, if it's not working, we've got to have a plan. And that's basically my conversation with them, was give us a plan, so at least we could assist if we can, right? So, but if we don't have a basic plan of how we're going to get all these ER closures in the province, making sure, we need to be able to get that done. So you guys are working on it here in Chetwynd. It's awesome, but we'll get that letter, and we really don't want to, I'm going to say that, step on people's toes so that we could gain something here. We want to be able to gain it throughout the province, right? We want to be able to, if we're doing something good, we should be doing it good throughout the whole province. So, but in this case, it's happening right here. So we will be assisting in that manner.
Thank you. And you know, just to extrapolate on that thought, I think it has implications for the whole province down the line. We are one of a few First Nation primary care clinics that have been open so far. There's only 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, in the province so far, with a plan to get up to about 13. And so other communities will be facing this barrier in time. We have the opportunity to kind of address it early on, but it is a question that has to be answered by the ministry.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. If there isn't any other question, Councillor?
I don't have a question. I just want to say a big thank you for all your hard work and mitigating service interruptions and getting great numbers in our staffing. Thank you.
So I'll acknowledge again that this is a partnership, and we're all community members, and you can see some of the folks that are here sort of just observing today, and it's a collaborative approach from everyone. At the local level, there really are very few silos. We have a lot of really open dialogue and communication about how are we going to make this work for the community of Chetwynd, and I'm very, very proud of that. So I'll acknowledge that, you know, if you give me a microphone, I'm going to cheer on my team, and for those folks that are, you know, working hard at the hospital and in primary care, my hat's off to them and all the hard work that they do to make these wheels turn. It's not easy in healthcare right now, but we have one of the best teams out there, and so thank you to everyone that makes that happen.
I've been meaning to ask this for a while now. Do we have any systems in place, does Northern Health or even, yes, Northern Health, have any systems in place to monitor seniors who live alone as to, you know, if they don't have any family members, how do we know that they're getting all their needs met?
Mm-hmm. So we call it care coordination, and you know, I'm proud to say that we have 3 fantastic nurses, RNs, and an LPN at the Chetwynd Primary Care Clinic. Again, I'm speaking from the NH perspective, recognizing that work can actually be done more broadly with some of our partners as well. So those folks that you know, have the need or feel that they you know, have ongoing concerns or challenges, they can be attached to one of our providers, our nurses. And they can continue to, you know, talk about what might you need as your life changes. What are your personal goals? Is it home support contracts? Is it connections to a dietitian? Is it connections to other local resources that maybe aren't NH, but we're aware of them, whether it's through Tansy or Meals on Wheels and all of those great programs. So they're out there.
That really is for those who are known, you know, they have a doctor they're seeing. What about somebody who lives alone, doesn't necessarily visit the clinic, or doesn't have obvious health issues? I guess it's dependent on friends and family to know if they're okay in their home, or if they're getting enough food, things like that.
So one of the, you know, tricky parts with healthcare is that patients have the right to make their own choices, even when it places them in what we might consider them living at risk. So if they are competent and have, you know, appropriate faculties, they can make those choices. If the supports are needed and wanted, they can be there. So it's a tricky conversation to have sometimes.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Becky? Yeah.
I just wanted to, if I may, Dr. Vanessa.
Oh, go ahead,
Just a quick
Doctor.
comment. I'm
Yep.
not gonna make a big speech. I'm not good at speaking, but I just wanted to. And this is Ashley, whom I had the pleasure to work with in the
Doctor?
current capacity. I just wanted to. I don't think I need that. So yeah, so I'm Dr. Benes. I'm sure most of you know me already for many years of being in this community. It's been my privilege and pleasure, with all the rewards and challenges of living here, of course. I think I may consider myself a senior doctor at this point. But it's been an amazing journey for me. And some bumpy roads, you know, in between. I just wanted to applaud my colleagues and what has happened over the years, 10 years of my practice here in Chetwynd. when we opened a beautiful clinic where my colleagues currently practicing, and all the way to now 3 clinics. We have 3 clinics, we have 2 pharmacies, something unprecedented. We have an amazing, extraordinary team of physicians who not only work hard, but these guys are at top of the line clinicians with a lot of enthusiasm for what they do, and then the knowledge, and they continuously want to improve their skills and bring those skills to our community. And I am, sort of like a dinosaur almost here, but not quite yet. I'm not dead yet. However, if I used to run a mile, 20 miles, now it's a little bit less than that, maybe 1 mile. And I want to continue to do that in not that capacity as my colleagues are able to do working in Emerge. I just wanted to again emphasize how challenging it is to keep the Emerge open 24 hours, extremely challenging clientele, and extremely limited resources sometimes because we rely on specialists, ambulance. It's a whole chain of things that need to happen for successful care to be provided to the very, very sick patient. And unfortunately, sometimes we are not very lucky to be to do it. But we all have the best intentions, and again, extraordinary team. As far as myself, I probably do contribute a little bit or more than a little bit to that number of unattached patients, although I want to reassure everyone that this is a transitional period of time until things are sorted out, and we are working really hard on this to reattach quickly patients back. Not privy to disclose all this sort of because we don't have our medical director present, unfortunately, today, who could represent what we are doing to the full transparency of what we're doing. However, just to be honest up front, we are attaching not only sort of patients who are primarily deliver care, but also in town. So I would like to just ask for patience. Of my patients to be patient until we sort things out. And I just thought that maybe, we do have to be creative. I believe there's the government and the Ministry of Health and First Nations Health Authority. But what we do here on the ground, in this small community, utilizing our own creativity is what's most important. I think we have to be creative, and I think that we have to bypass sometimes certain things. And when it comes to unattached patients, if we establish some sort of centralized wait list for all the 3 clinics, that is very transparent and everybody knows who is attached to whom and who is on the waiting list, that will make easier for everybody. And that is something that I want to bring to attention of my colleagues and see, can we be transparent? Because traditionally, the clinics do have amount of confidentiality that cannot be disclosed, but if we, in a good faith for the best of our patients, work towards getting everybody attached. When I was starting the practice in here, there was no such term as unattached. I didn't know what that was. It was me and Venter. It was 4,000 people. You get 2,000, you get 2,000, problem solved. How long these people had to wait for, I don't know, but we worked hard and we tried our best. It was putting out the fires. It was a band-aid oftentimes, but we tried our best. So just to summarize, I think we need to prioritize the most vulnerable patients. As you pointed out, reach out to them, and I think paramedics may hopefully play a role in this as well. And then pull the forces together and get our folks reattached as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley, I'm not sure if you
Ashley?
want to comment anything, or are you okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. All right. go to bylaws. District of Chetwynd, permissive tax exemption bylaw number 1187, 2025 requires adoption.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, vote on the motion. Favor? Carried. Committee reports. Any reports, Mayor? You? Okay. I attended a symposium in Prince George, mental health and addiction symposium, and two of the things that came out of the symposium was a third space, a space where people could go and just talk without being judged or anything like that on what their position is anywhere. So that was one of the things that came out of there, and it was quite nice to hear that people had those spaces. And I believe we do have some in Chetwynd, and we don't realize that somebody just put a name to it. So it was quite important. I believe Friends of Center, and I believe Northern Health, new health clinic has one there too. So there's a few places, and I'm probably not all aware of all of them, all of our third space where we could just go in and, you know, sit, listen, talk, whatever. So that was one of the things, and what it was for people that don't usually get out to speak their mind. So, and sometimes that's all one needs, is to let others know that they are still here. So, I believe that one of the things that we as a community, and it came out there as addictions, right? It is a kind of, well, I wanted to tell the frontline workers there, he says it's kind of like a disease. He says, no, it is. That's the first thing that first line workers told me in Prince George. So I thank them for the work, and I believe we have a few in town here that do that kind of work. So those are the two things that came out of there. And it was quite unique. I guess this is the second year of the symposium. So there was two things in the last 2 years that really opened my eyes to what is going on and how it goes on. And that's the symposium in Prince George and Healing the Land conference that was held in 2024, I believe, in Soto Cultural Center. So those are two things that were quite important, and that's what gave me that thought when I was at the symposium in Prince George. And as for the PRRD, they are still working on our Scramble Vision, our television. They put a motion back for third reading to reassess the Scramble Vision. That's our television radio station. So we're working on that. So that is it for me. Councillor Nelson.
I just wanted to talk about the Little Prairie Community Forest AGM that I attended. A few of us attended, yeah, last week. So they have a new manager, which is exciting. And the great thing about the community forest is it's nearly completely financially viable. They figure one more cut away from having enough funds in their short-term and long-term investments to cover annual operating costs every year, which means that the community forest is self-sustainable. Lots of talks involved of the future focus, of course, more cutting, which involves, you know, employment for local logging companies, which is brilliant. They talked about a firewood program, which I found interesting because our partners, Westmo and Soto, are active in a firewood program in which they ensure that firewood's getting cut for their elders. And I said, well, what's going on for our elders, our senior citizens of Chetwynd? And I guess in the past, there wasn't much interest, but I just wanted to put it to the public. If you did know of any senior citizens within our community that are looking for firewood to warm their home, I think there's a real opportunity through the community forest for some complimentary wood for the winter. So that's something definitely to look forward to. They're talking about educational tours, birding, you know, identification of berries and such like that. And then further recreational development to include a disc golf course, and also management and grooming of the cross-country ski trails, which I was told that would be taken care of by Christmas this year, I guess assuming that we get enough snow. So our little prairie community forest is definitely making big moves, and I think it's pretty exciting. And then I will tack on to this report that the running track is nearly complete. I think there's a little bit of earthwork around the edges to be taken care of, but if you go look at that running track out at the Rotary Park, it's rubberized, it's numbered, it looks incredible. We are ready to host other communities for next season, and I think it's gonna be like a real economic boon for our community. It's pretty exciting, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports? Staff?
Thank you, Your Worship. If I could just fill in a little bit on Councillor Nelson as well. Our dividend check for this year for the district of Chetwynd was $110,000. That was our share, and when she speaks of it becoming self-sustainable, that means we get to a point where we no longer have to harvest wood to get a dividend. Like we'll be, we invest the money that we gain from the harvest. We invest the majority of it. So by getting a return on the investment, we will get to a point in the next couple of years where we're guaranteed a dividend, whether we harvest wood or not. So it's really quite exciting news and really beneficial for our community. Thank you, Your Worship.
All right, any others? Okay. Motion to accept the reports?
Motion to accept. Second.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Good. Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Vote, all in favor? Carried. Good. Correspondence. Information items. Any that need to be, council would like to pull from I-1 to I-7?
Motion to receive I-1 to I-7.
Second.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Okay. Reports for action. Grant made CSS volleyball.
I'm just gonna jump right in and motion that should these boys make it to the provincials, that we contribute $1,000 grant, and I realize it's above our regular offering. However, we get so few asks, and I mean, we did just receive a beautiful dividend from the community forest, and I think I've seen the CSS volleyball clubs do really well in the past, and I think that if we're going to help build that momentum, that we can start seeing the provincials again and again for our local teams, I'd like to go ahead and support them.
Second.
Councillor McDonald?
In regards to the policy, staff was kind enough to share it. I believe was last updated in 2019. Are the rates on it still relevant with the increase of expenses altogether? Is it something we should consider increasing for future requests?
We can absolutely bring forth a report on that if you'd like. It hasn't been updated for a while. There have been a lot of changes. Like Councillor Nelson mentions, we don't get that many requests for provincial types of events, so I just think it hasn't come up, but it's certainly something we can visit, absolutely.
Thank you.
Councillor.
I just have a question for Kevin. It says 4,000 for travel grants and 4,700 in allocation was that just stuff that we had in the budget with last year that we didn't use, that's carried forward? I'm not sure the numbers.
It's money that was budgeted as grant and aid, but didn't have any specific project to go toward. So we allocate $4,000 on an annual basis for these travel grants. The policy says that if they reach a provincial level, they get this, if they reach national level, and they don't have to come to council for those ones I have the authority to just authorize out of that 4,000. The other 4,750 was just money that we rounded the budget up to 120,000, I think it was, and that's what was left that didn't have specific projects tied to it.
Okay.
Very nice. You know, up yours for the 15?
Oh, yeah. Can I ask Kevin what you think about the motion that I made? And do you think that we could afford to give them more should they make it to provincials?
That's putting me on the spot. Yes, we can afford to give them more if council so chose to do that. We're down to the last 3 months, 2 months, 2.5 months of the year. There's essentially $4,000 that was allocated for travel grants that there hasn't been anybody coming asking. I can't think of any others that would be possible between now and the end of the calendar year either, so.
May I rescind my motion?
No. Yeah, it's again your seconder, is it all right? Yeah, she said yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we contribute $2,000 to the CSS volleyball club should these boys make it to the provincials.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Just point that we still are leaving a little bit in there in case we have somebody else come in for an ask, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, we got a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Okay, carried. No reports, no new business, public. At this time, give the public an opportunity to ask any questions that we had on our agenda, any items we had on our agenda. State your name and your address, please.
Lacey Archer, 451 47th Ave. I was wondering if anybody on council has had any conversations with Northern Health about the staff that they've fired and refused to hire back.
Any councillors? I see head shaking, no.
Is there someone that's responsible for representing to the hospital on council?
Who is the liaison?
So there's been no discussion about the staff that's been fired?
No, according to Becky today, Northern Health's almost fully staffed. I don't know the reason these people were fired, and nobody's approached me to have that conversation.
We'll let staff.
Yes, under current privacy legislation, Northern Health would not be allowed to discuss anything involving termination of employment of any employee, or they'd be in court like we would. Mm-hmm. It's intensely private and personal. If, we could have a general conversation, which we have in the past about mm-hmm. staffing, but we can't talk about anybody that's been terminated about rehiring them. It would be illegal.
I'm talking about staff that were fired during the mandates and refused to hire back those staff.
Doesn't matter when. It's under current privacy legislation. They would not be allowed to discuss it, and we would not be allowed legally to ask the question.
Even if the name was left out?
It doesn't matter. It's private.
Okay, so if there are staff that are fired in the community and the departments are closing as a result of those departments being short-staffed, and they're saying that they're fully staffed, why are those departments still closing? That's what I'm wondering, if someone's had that conversation.
There'll be a question for Northern Health.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if anybody has had that conversation with Northern Health. Okay, thank you.
Any other public? Okay, not seeing any. Adjournment.
Second.
Those in favor? Carried.
Baseball.
Yep.